At 2:13 in the afternoon, the glass shattered. Thousands of people surged forward, waving flags and climbing scaffolding. Inside, Capitol Police fell back through marble hallways, while lawmakers crouched beneath desks. This was a distinct kind of rupture. It was driven by citizens who believed democracy itself had been stolen, storming the very institution meant to embody it. For weeks, a sitting president insisted the election was fraudulent. Millions believed the claim, not because of evidence, but because they no longer trusted any institution to tell them what was true. Courts, media, and election officials were recast as partisan adversaries. By nightfall, the rioters were dispersed, and 5 people were dead. But the images of the world's most powerful legislature, reduced to a stage for spectacle, signaled a visible break in the way the nation coordinates its collective future. Every civilization must answer one question: how do millions of individuals, each with competing interests, coordinate their actions? This is governance. It is civilization's steering function. It makes sense of reality, chooses collective responses, and builds the legitimacy that makes those decisions stick. The democratic breakthrough established that power would be justified by the consent of the governed, rather than by divine right or conquest. It was a declaration that disagreement could be metabolized through deliberation rather than violence. Over time, that circle of participation widened to include formerly enslaved people and women. These concepts did not originate solely in European thought. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy deliberated under the Great Law of Peace, where clan mothers held veto authority over decisions involving war. Their tradition balanced autonomy with obligations to generations not yet born. When this system functions at its peak, democracy serves as a living practice of shared stewardship. The current crisis stems from a mismatch between what democratic governance is intended to do and what our institutions reward. Short election cycles prioritize spectacle. Politicians think in 2- or 4-year increments, while the challenges they confront unfold over decades. This chart maps decades of U.S. policy data. Researchers Martin Gilens and Benjamin Page found that outcomes correlate strongly with the preferences of economic elites. The preferences of average citizens have a statistically negligible independent effect on which laws are passed. Digital media further fragments discourse. Algorithms sort populations into separate information environments where attention is harvested as a commodity. Outrage becomes the most profitable emotion to generate, turning politics into a continuous war over competing narratives. This is what Francis Fukuyama calls political decay. It occurs when institutions become rigid, out of sync with the environment they were built to manage. This decay is built into a specific architecture of failure, which can be broken down into 5 interlocking elements. The first element is capture. Agencies serve the industries they oversee. Second is complexity. We inhabit nonlinear global systems. Third is short-termism. Inaction is politically safer than transformation. Fourth is the breakdown in trust. Official accounts feel hollow. Finally, there is rivalrous polarization. Politics transforms from shared problem-solving into a zero-sum contest for dominance. The other side is perceived not merely as wrong, but as an existential threat. These elements form a reinforcing cascade. Each weakness amplifies the next, creating a system that can no longer steer effectively. In 1988, NASA scientist James Hansen testified to Congress that global warming had begun. Since then, global carbon dioxide emissions have risen by 60%, despite decades of international treaties and pledges. Governance designed around national competition has proven unable to stabilize a planetary system. At one recent UN conference, more than 500 fossil fuel lobbyists attended, a larger presence than any single national delegation. The 2008 financial crisis revealed the same pattern. Deregulation and capture created a system where gains were privatized while losses were socialized. Taxpayers underwrote bailouts while corporate profits soared. These failures are the predictable outputs of a governance architecture optimized for national rivalry and short-term feedback loops. Civilization has reached a fork in the road. One path leads toward regression. Authoritarian regimes promise order through control, using surveillance and permanent emergency powers to monitor movement. When democratic legitimacy collapses, many will trade freedom for the feeling of certainty. The other path leads toward evolution. This requires treating politics, as Václav Havel wrote, as the art of bringing people together. It means building structures that insulate key decisions from capture while maintaining public accountability. This evolutionary approach extends moral concern to future generations and to non-human life, coordinating action at the level of actual planetary risks. Early prototypes already exist. Citizens' assemblies have helped resolve deadlocked issues, including climate strategy and abortion policy, in Ireland and France. In Wales, the Well-Being of Future Generations Act gives statutory voice to those not yet born, ensuring their interests are represented in legislative decisions. The Capitol breach was a symptom of a steering mechanism that is breaking. It was designed to guide a train along a fixed track, but we are now navigating unmapped terrain at accelerating speed. We cannot simply repair the wheel. The current navigation system requires replacement, a process that extends to how we provision the basic means of life.